Okay, so welcome everybody to the World of Ability Podcast Network. My name is Emily Gilmer and a podcast engineer here. And excited to bring you another episode of the World of Nutrition. I do every month on the second Friday at 6 o'clock Central here. And so talking about kind of nutritional and lifestyle kinds of things, everything connected with that. But I am going to bring in Marilyn to kick us off today and introduce our great guest today.
All
So
right,
welcome.
thank you. Well, hello, Emily. I'm Marilyn Lemaire. I help host the World of Nutrition podcast. So this is nutrition for your body, mind, and soul. And I'm so thankful today to have two amazing guests. So my first guest, his name is Joe Haslam. And let me tell you a little bit about him. So with over 31 years of human resource experience, 5 years as a relationship coach, Joe has successfully guided over 100 clients toward personal and professional growth. A retired Navy veteran with 20 years of service, he brings a unique perspective to coaching, combining leadership, discipline, and empathy to help individuals achieve their fullest potential in relationships and in life. So, Joe, thank you so much for being here. Please tell us a little bit more about what you do.
Thank you. That was so great. I had to look around and make sure that you were talking about me. Yeah, so what I like to do is bring people together. That 20 years of military of Navy experience, I have gotten to speak to and witness so many different kinds of relationships and get to see how people get into relationships and unfortunately end up getting out of relationships and keep on finding the same people over and over again. And so, what I like to do is help people to stop dating the same person, with a different face. It seems to be that rerun, that Groundhog Day, if you will. And you're out here dating and you find the same person over and over and over again. And you keep wondering, why is this happening? So I'm the person that you come to get out of that cycle, to get out of that rat race, to figure out what it is about me that keeps attracting the same person that I keep saying I don't want. And so that's my specialty in this.
I love that. And so I'm curious, like what sort of tips or things do you have people look out for?
So the first thing that I do is to get people to see what part they played in it, because it's so easy to point the finger, right? Like, I've been married a couple times myself and have been divorced a couple times myself. So it was once I took a class and I got to start taking responsibility for my actions and the part that I played in things, it was when my eyes and my world opened up to, I don't have to keep doing the same cycle over and over again. But the biggest thing is, everything starts with me. And once I was able to take that responsibility and take back that control, because when you blame, you lose all control. And so you put it on everybody else. And so when I was able to take that back, it really opened up doors for me, and it opened up doors for me to be able to help other people.
That's so beautiful. Take responsibility. So for people that may not understand this language, could you please like dive in a little bit more? How do people take responsibility?
Great question. Great question. And so one of the big ways that you can take responsibility is that you can really sit down and you can dive into, okay, what went wrong? Where is the point in the relationship where you can see, like, maybe the jump off point where things started taking a turn for the worse? And a lot of times when you really sit down in quiet, it really started before that really explosion point where everything just seemed like it went wrong. It really started maybe months, or even for some folks, even years before that. And so once you're able to pinpoint that, then it's like, okay, what part did I play in this? What did I actually do? How did this actually come about? And when you actually start seeing those things, it's like, oh my God, I really did have something to do with this. And just stop pointing the finger, because when you point the finger, it's always three pointing back at you. And so once you start realizing that, it's like, okay, what part did I play in it? And it's like, oh no, no, I was 100% the victim. I was 100%. It's like I didn't do anything wrong. It's like, well, you could start with choosing that person to date that person. Why did you decide to open yourself up to that person? And so it can go as easy as that.
Yeah, and something that I remember is some of the conversations that we've had is, with all of our with all our relationships that we've been in, we are the common denominator. So
We
taking
really are.
responsibility, yes.
Yes, I remember years and years and years ago, maybe I think it might have been like 2001. And I was talking with one of my sisters. I got a lot of sisters. And so I was talking with one of my sisters, and she was telling me about her boyfriend and how he was just, getting on her nerves, and, like he was doing all of these bad things. And she was just at this point where I just hate men. And I was saying, like, no, it doesn't have to be like that. And she was like, shut up. You not that good either. And I was like, wait a minute, what? And she was like, yeah, you keep talking about how all of these women keep doing you dirty. You're the common denominator. Now, I know she was upset, but at the same time, the people that speak the most truth are people that are mad, people that are drunk, and babies. Those are the people that always tell the truth. And so I really had to look into that. And then over the years, like I never forgot it. I never forgot it. And then, it really hit me like I am the common denominator. What is it about me that keeps drawing this same person, this same over and over and over again? And I started figuring out. So for myself, it was I grew up a single mother. So it's me, my mother, and my sister. And she would date, and my mom, to me, greatest woman in the world. Right. So I couldn't figure out why she couldn't hold on to a relationship. So the answer to me, it had to be because of us kids. And so one thing that I grew up thinking is like, okay, when I get older, and if I date a single mother, then I'm going to make sure that I'm there for her and I'm there for the kids, and I'm never going to leave, and, da 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 da. And then just growing up, I never really thought about it, but that was my pattern. And so every woman that I dated was about the same size as my mother. Um, Always single mother. Um, but what I didn't realize is in that point, just because they're a single mother does not mean that they deserve, this is going to sound horrible. I'm going to say it anyway. It doesn't mean that they deserve. And so before my mom passed, she tried to tell me that, in her own ways. Like, you don't have to date everyone with a kid, or how she would say it was, I really like her. I just don't like her for you. And I never understood what that meant until I started doing work on myself. It was like, just because, she might remind you of me does not mean that you have to be with her. And so once I started deep diving into that, it was like, oh, okay, so now what can I do to kind of reverse this situation, or just figure out what I really want in a person, and then be that person, because you attract who you are, not what you want. And so if I can be that person, I can attract the person that I want.
I love that. I was taking notes. You attract who you are, not what you want. And I'm seeing more and more of that. I was just in a relationship Zoom yesterday with Kathy and Gary. So, they're reiterating the same thing to there as well.
Mm,
People who are um, finding the same frequency, the same type of person with a different face.
hmm
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, if you're not ready to receive it, like you can run into your person. I tell people all the time, it's like you might run across your wife, your future wife, or your future husband. But if you're not ready for them, you're just gonna walk on by.
Mm.
Or God forbid, you do run into that person and y'all start a relationship, but you're not ready, you're gonna get rid of them because they're not familiar. So there's no spark, there's no electricity, no chemistry because they're so unfamiliar. That chemistry comes with things that are familiar. And that's why you keep dating the same person over and over again because you might say you want this, but then what you really want is what you keep ending up with.
Mm.
And so you really got to sit down and figure out, okay, why is that? And then start figuring out, okay, now you got to be honest with yourself. It's like, is this what I really want? And if it is, you just have to be okay with that. But if it's not, then you got to start doing some work. And you got to start doing some work on you.
And I'm curious, as I'm learning more about feminine and masculine, like what are your take or what are your thoughts on that?
I really believe that people can flow back and forth through each. But if you have a person that is masculine, and so it's hard for two masculines, and not a set in or in a way of two males, just two masculine personalities. When they come home, there's going to be a lot of headbutting. But then if it's two feminine energies, there may not be any decisions made. So if you can flow back and forth throughout, some occasions, she may have to be more masculine, a guy may have to be more feminine and vice versa. Whichever works for your relationship. But just be willing to be able to flow back and forth and be what's needed. Because we all have both sides in us.
Yeah, that's so true. And something that I was realizing as I was, doing self-development is that if I showed up more masculine, then maybe my family would love me more. As a firstborn in a Japanese family, the boys like really get more attention, and I'm the firstborn as a female, and I was like, well, I somehow got in my head that if I was more masculine, then I would get accepted and be loved more, which would have never worked, right? So it's just like, what are we creating, or what was I creating throughout my whole life, and then realizing through through doing some self development, through doing the work, that I can be my feminine self, and it's okay.
Mm-hmm. And that's the thing is like if you grow up thinking you need to be more masculine for love, then when you start going out and searching for relationships, you're thinking you have to be more masculine to be loved.
Mm.
And then you're going out and you're meeting guys and you're bringing all of this masculine energy. And a lot of times guys don't know, especially masculine males, don't know what to do with that energy. It could seem cool at first because you're more assertive, you know what you want, you're going after what you want, and they feel like, oh, I'm what she wants, so she's going after it. But then after a while, that can get a little tiring, especially if he's a masculine male, because that's where the headbutting starts going in. And not being able to step into your femininity, it can be really tough sometimes, right? A lot of times. You don't have the confidence to be able to do it because you're thinking like, okay, if I do, going into my femininity, like, am I going to be accepted? Are things gonna fall off? Are things gonna drop off?
Mhm.
You know, I'm used to handling all of these things, and feeling that being masculine means, um, you know, being able to do everything, right? Is like if I'm in a masculine state, I can handle anything and handle everything, and I don't have to show emotion, and I could just work, 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 work. And that is not what being masculine has to be about. Everybody can work, 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 and everybody can show emotions. So it doesn't have to be exclusive, if that makes sense.
So being able to just flow between as needed, I guess. Or
Hmm.
okay.
Yeah. I mean, and at the end of the day, just be happy with being yourself.
Mhm.
And so if you have more masculine energy and that's who you are, but you don't have to force it, especially force it for someone else's love, because that's never going to work. The love has to start with you. It's like if you want someone to love you, you got to start off by loving yourself. And then you'll attract people that also love themselves, but also have the capability of loving you. Because if you're not loving yourself, you're going to attract people who also don't love themselves. And now you're in a make me happy war. You're depending on them to make you happy. They're depending on you to make them happy. And then, it's great when it's high, but when it's low, oh, it's a struggle. It's a
Mhm.
struggle. And that's when the finger comes back out, the blaming finger.
And so how can people be more aware of that? I'm curious. There was a time, I will say a few times probably, in my relationships where I was just like, okay, well, I had a bad day. Well, I had a worse day, right? And it's just like competing whose day was worse. So then we don't have to take
Hmm.
responsibility. And, that also didn't work. And I'm like,
Exactly.
okay, well, how can people recognize that?
So it has to be something that you do consciously. It has to be intentional. And so one thing that I do is when I'm driving home, I start focusing my mind on when I get home, I'm going to be positive. So it doesn't matter what happened at work. It doesn't matter what happened on that crazy drive from Waikiki to Kapolei. When I get home, I'm putting my mind into a place of happy, calm, and joy. And those are the things that I want to bring into my household. And so when I walk into the house, it doesn't matter if my lady's had a bad day. She gets to let that bad day go to me, and she gets to get that off. And I'm not going to compete with her. And so it gives her the opportunity to raise her vibration instead of me lowering my vibration to her bad day. And then what I've learned over that time is she started doing the same thing.
Mhm.
And so now we're both having good days. And then if we start off with the good things and then we've had bad moments throughout the day, we can discuss the bad moments, but it's always followed up by, and today was a good day, you know.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, I love that so much, Joe. Thank you. And I would like to ask if is there any last thoughts that you have that you would like to share with the audience?
Definitely. I would just say make sure that you are in control of your happy and you're just doing all of the things that make you happy, and then you'll attract happiness.
I love that so much. And please tell everyone where they can find you.
TheRightOneThisTime.com. So I have my own website, y'all. Check me
Yes,
out.
I love it. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah, I dropped off for a second.
I did too. All good. So we have another guest, Miss Teresa Monroe. She is a galactic historian, messenger of the councils of light, spiritual catalyst, and creator of Essence of the Rays of Light, a line of healing infused sprays and jewelry to make your healing and ascension process easier and faster. She's here to bring clarity, empowerment, and peace. Her family brings solutions to world problems with the lineage of healing that goes back 700 generations on one side of the family and 500 generations on the other. Teresa, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is really exciting.
Yes, please share with us more about what you do.
Well, I do, energy work. I do YouTube videos. I have a line of healing infused sprays and jewelry. They're all there to heal. So the sprays go back every 1 to 3 generations. And so like my grandfather left me oh yeah, that's smart that you brought those. So they're
No,
all handwritten. Yeah. So anyway, I help people get from here to here very quickly and painlessly. So I know the steps on how to get you there. And I work with God and Jesus and the different ascended masters that are sometimes called saints, and with the angels, as well as your guides and sometimes your ancestors. So, but yeah, all that to be able to help you receive your goals, reach your goals and where you'd like to be. So, and a large part is I get the messages from the councils of light. So those are the basically the groups of different saints and things, and how they are here to help humanity, and they will give me messages for what humanity's needing right now. And it's been that way since I was born. So that I remember. So yeah.
That's so amazing. And today is Friday, September 13th. So I would love for you to speak a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so Friday the 13th, it's funny because I would always hear these things when you're tied to the realms of truth, you can tell when things are true and not true. And so it'll resonate in a certain way in the body when it's true. It'll not resonate in the body when it's false. And one of the things it wasn't comfortable to feel people get upset around Friday the 13th. And I'm like, but those are, when I would look at it, I was born with the wisdom of what truth was. And I'd look at it and go, Friday the 13th is actually a good day, and it's not all Friday the 13th. And so when I started to look at it, I would ask questions about that. So like Mother Mary would come to me and talk to me about the number 13 and say, 13 is actually the number for the divine feminine. It's a very lucky number. There's a reason why we have 13 moon cycles, 13 cycles for the feminine, and especially with our personal moon cycles. But there was a time when all of this was of Jesus. So basically, on October the 13th, which is when I realized, okay, it was just October the 13th on a Friday, which only happens once every 8 years, including the leap years, that was the only one that was when it originally counted. And that's because the Knights Templar they basically lost their lives on October the 13th on a Friday a number of years ago. And the Knights Templar back originally were protecting the lineages of Jesus Christ. So because it's controversial, but the church is now recognizing that Mary Magdalene was his counterpart and was also having children. So there are the lineages of Jesus Christ that are alive even today and doing major things in the world of major healing work. But they wanted to try to remove those people and those lineages and the good things that they were doing. And there was basically, they were trying to end the power of the divine feminine. And so, yeah, Friday the 13th happened and realized, yeah, it's actually a very lucky day. And it's not a day that's actually something that's meant to be unlucky. And if it had truly been celebrated as something as not great, it would have been on a Friday the 13th in October. So that was when it was originally intended. And then it became at another point all Friday the 13th. But it's not like that anymore. And I'm starting to see more and more and more posts today where I'm like, yay. So anybody actually born on October the 13th carries the wisdom and of the lineages of Jesus Christ as well. Usually it's in their DNA. You'll see them as huge advocates for doing the right thing and carriers of truth and the way of love in life. So, but yeah, that's the main message around October the 13th. Is it's actually it was more of a powerful day. So, which is why, yeah. But the lineages are still here and the lineages are still protected. And but yeah, I hope that helps. Does that make sense?
Yes, I didn't
Okay.
understand what Knights Templar was, if you want to share a
They
little bit about
were Sure. So they were a group that were created to protect the wisdom and the ways of Jesus Christ and the teaching. So, um, as with certain things, they ended up off track a little bit at times. Um, but largely they were there and originally created, which is what's really important is why something was originally created, its original templates, because that'll set the foundation for anything in life. But they were there to protect the family members of Jesus. And they ended up protecting the church at times as well. There were some other missions I've heard about that weren't so good towards the end, but largely what they were protecting was the wisdom and the ways of life of Jesus Christ and his lineage of family members who needed protecting on the planet. And so that's why they were created. And that's why there was the enemy. So, but they forget about God and God always protects. So,
I know that.
yeah.
Thank you. And please,
Yeah.
what else is going on, or what else is coming up for you that you feel led to share today?
Oh gosh, like in terms of the collective or in terms of things that we're starting to do in terms of like projects within the company.
Oh gosh. The collective.
So the collective, it's interesting because like with Joe talking about, Mary Magdalene has been talking about there's a petition. So when there's certain petitions are talked about in the Catholic Church, they're referred to as petitions as well. When the saints and God and the angels are working on our behalf for humanity, there is what's called a petition. It's where humanity has wanted certain things, and the angels and masters and God are helping us. And it's in the balancing of the masculine and feminine on the planet. So it's interesting that Joe was talking about the masculine and feminine because we're coming into a time where we are going to have more balance between the masculine and feminine because there's things like being very giving towards one another and loving towards one another and having more of the relationships that are balanced. So it's been about balancing that energy, healing the feminine within and healing the masculine within. What I've mostly noticed is that the physical feminine is mostly healed, at least on the soul level. There's the thoughts and the emotions, but we're also seeing like there's just some things that are kind of waiting in terms of actions and wonderful relationships coming. What there also is on the masculine, they're about 90% healed. The trajectory is by solstice that the masculine should be completely healed. But she petitioned back, Mary Magdalene, who was working on this and had taken on that petition, had specifically said, hey, we need a little bit more feminine energy. Can people of humanity please send that towards the masculine? Because there's a small pocket that's not wanting to receive that. But yeah, we're almost there. And then what that does is it contributes to community, better relationships, people loving one another. So we speak in peace, we act in peace, we're helping each other, and we're being there for each other, and we're praying. And it's, it's more the communities that we've been wanting, and not the communities of, the negative, because there's some very much so that I've watched that haven't picked up on it, and have been talking a little bit badly about one another, or wanting revenge and things like this. And the earth is not headed that way. We are headed into our time of peace. And but yeah, we're almost there. So I hope that helps in terms of, yeah, it's interesting. We have Joe on talking about that. Now we're talking about, relationships in general, balancing out the masculine and feminine, because sometimes people don't know how to do that. Really, it's just there's, what masculine and feminine roles are, which is one thing, but there's also healing your traumas, your relationships to the feminine and masculine within. Because if you're finding you're being kind towards one another or towards other people, you tend to find that you've got that more balanced. So if you can look towards the anybody and have compassion, but also keep your boundaries, then you know that you're on the right track. But if you're talking badly and you're doing it and especially since most people know it, and you're getting into those sorts of things or wishing harm, we don't. It's you can really feel the judgment is here. So there's not much time left with that. But good news is I can really see the communities are really forming, because there's other people coming out of things and going, oh gosh, we've just woken up some more. We really need, more community that's got a light built foundation, which is amazing. So they're starting. And I really started to see the physical effects of it starting in March of this year. Now I'm really feeling it. So, but if you're feeling kind of the upset in the community of things changing, it's because the old foundations are shifting out and the new foundations are coming back in. So that help?
Yes. And then
Yeah.
you talked about healing your traumas. Like how do you
Yeah.
recommend people heal their traumas?
Oh gosh. Well, being aware of them in the first place, being aware that you want something different and being honest about that. There's prayer is huge, but I work on that. I offer 30 days of light. So it takes you again from here to here very quickly, and it's painlessly. And that's one thing that I offer is the 30 days of light, which is the light that comes in straight from God. And it aids you in every aspect of your life. And I've done this since I was a kid. So the other thing is I sell a healing spray called Violet Flame. And that's one that will transmute negativity into positivity. And that is the balance of Father God and Mother God light coming together, making violet light. And you use that and it'll transmute your traumas as well. Now, on the human level, what's required is that you recognize to behave differently. And sometimes it's around a mindset. If you've got an old thing coming up and knowing that you need to do something, doing something different and knowing how to work through the emotions of that. And because there's a lot of people coming out of addiction right now and resetting the emotions, and it should be easier now than ever because God has given us new emotions, new thoughts, new patterns. And now it's about, oh, okay, the human collective right now is really like goal oriented towards what it is that they want. And we kind of have a last ditch kind of the enemy coming around going, are you sure that's what you want? Like, and the human collective for the first time is like vibing together going, yes, yes. And you'll see it because there's a lot more in the streets about we love Jesus, we love God, we love prayer. You can't tell us that we can't celebrate God. And so yeah, it's pretty blatant at this point, but it's really when I'm watching it, even though there's some turmoil, it's really headed towards a really beautiful trajectory. We're almost there. So yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah, it is exciting. It's been bumpy at times. Like you can watch certain days. That's why on like my YouTube channel, my one-to-one sessions, on my Instagram, especially on my email, places where you can get information that you're needing to be able to change things for the better. because there's definitely the enemy doesn't want to see that. And there's just a mindset, and the more that we're coming together, the more that we're empowered together. Because that's what God's supporting right now is community. So, and communities of love. So the real thing, like the way it's supposed to be. So
I love that. Communities.
yeah. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things I'm building too right now. I keep being called for it and watching it form and seeing what's needed. And it's a special gift. So I've got a community on Patreon that is starting to form as well. We're hoping to do a rosary group and then also more in-depth webinars and world healing and things like that, where we send healing to everybody on the planet. And I can see it. I can watch it when it's happening, and which is kind of fun. So yeah, it happened just before this call. I'm like, oh yay! So every now and again, God will send a an image to me that lets me know, like, oh, okay, so it's actually really working, and here's physical proof of that. So it's nice. One of the things I like to do is recognize angels and things in photographs. So
Oh, yeah. And then you also, I don't know if you want to speak on this. However,
yeah.
we have been finding more feathers. And so that is
Oh yeah.
the
Yeah.
angels
Feathers
as
are
well.
another way that angels let you know. So like white ones are usually your guardian angel letting you know that they're around. There's other ones as well because there are angels that have different colors, like Archangel Michael may drop a blue feather in front of you. There was one that I found that was blue and gold, and that particular angel was working on behalf of Jesus Christ and Father God and Archangel Michael. So he was bringing in that Christ consciousness and protection as well. So yeah, it's fun. The green one came recently from Archangel Raphael to a certain client of mine. Yeah. So, and a couple of people found those all during the same week where he was coming in and upgrading the physical body for health to let them know, like, hey, it's actually happening to you. And some people will bring them and be like, why did I get that this week? It's like, oh, okay, here's why. Here's what God's working on this week is making sure everybody's bodies are getting upgraded for health so that we can live longer. So that because we are going to come into a time very soon where we're disease free. So all those things that people have dreamt about, or sometimes we see in movies, is what we're headed into. So major piece is coming, and good health and all of those things are coming as well. So yeah, the feathers are fun though.
They are. And I was going to ask, like, is there any other things that we can look for to just know that, we're being protected or watched
Mm.
over?
A lot of times your guardian angels, and Jesus will do this as well, is he likes to bring synchronicities. And one of the bigger things that they've mentioned lately for keeping balance in our lives is going and watching the sunrise and the sunset, getting out into nature, hiking. Here it's great because we can get into the water and just cleanse. What I'm loving lately is hiking in the mornings and then going swimming, which is great to be able to go do. So because then you're also in nature, and nature naturally is in a certain balance. Prayer will always help you because that also reminds you you're not alone and that God is always there to assist. Looking for little orbs. If you like esoteric things and photographs, you'll see like little flashes of light. But there's main. I'm trying to think what else is a practical thing to look for. It's just somebody that walks past and is smiling at you, and it makes your day. There's just the synchronicities of little coincidences, and those are always coming from God and letting you know, like, hey, you're supported here. You're not by yourself. So because God really does care. And but yeah, the biggest thing, the most effective thing I've seen right lately is definitely prayer. Um, Especially around the men need it, the children need it, because it keeps more of God's light around people, these huge golden bubbles I've been talking about, because the spiritual warfare game has changed. So making sure you're in a golden bubble of light. And you don't have to know anything about it. It's just ask Jesus to place you in a golden bubble of light and he will do so. So he doesn't feel burdened by that. It was last October he was saying more people need to be praying and asking for things to do for him to assist because he didn't feel like he had done enough in his incarnation, believe it or not, but also that he wanted more. And there's a large number of angels that are unemployed. So I was just reminded of that. So I think we talked a little bit about making a list of all the things we want angels to come help us with. And they are God's messengers. So yeah.
I
So
love
that
that.
helped. Got angel wing earrings on. So, but yeah, angels will drop their feathers for you. They'll leave a little feather. And it's been interesting because you were here at my house one day when Archangel Sandalphon came and he dropped a feather inside, which is how, they let you know. I had that a number of years ago when I was trying to figure some things out, and I was talking to my guardian angel about it, and God and Jesus, and my guardian angel. I'm inside, mind you, in an office with the door closed, and a little feather comes down. There's no AC vents in there. Like there was no place it could have come from. So but they manifest. That's how you really know. Because if you really need to know, they'll do things in extraordinary circumstances like that. So, but you can tell, and I teach ways on how to do this, like Caroline alignment, can help you to have more miracles in your life. So you'll really feel it. You have more synchronicities. People are more happy. People are working more around you, and that is basically your connection to God. It's yeah, it's beautiful. So yeah,
More
I
sync.
do a lot. If you're not sure like what to choose, just contact me and I'll know what it is that you're needing. Whether you're needing 30 days of light or a one-to-one session, I can tell, or just a piece of jewelry and we'll work with your budget. So, yeah.
I love that. And please,
Mhm.
if you have any last words that you want to share, and then also please share with people how they can find you.
Yeah. So just the main thing that I'm seeing is and what they talk about is see everybody that ask the angels to place them in golden and pink bubbles of love and Christ's wisdom. And you don't have to be religious. It's just something that helps them to feel protected and uplifted. Where you can find me, I'm online at teresamonroe.com. That is my website. My Instagram is Teresa Monroe. My YouTube is also Teresa Monroe. And I'm trying to think what else. My Patreon is Teresa Monroe. And there was one other thing that I was going to tell you about, but yeah, those are the main places. Also in person at my farmers markets here. I don't do my one-to-one sessions, but here in Honolulu, Hawaii, I have, let me see, on Saturdays, I'm at Kaka'ako from 8 a.m. to noon. On like, we're more on the harbor side because there's two sides to that market. Then there's also in Kailua on Sundays from 8 a.m. to noon as well at Castle Medical, which is fun because we're on church grounds. So I love that because it's always got a more protective, higher vibration because people are praying over the land and that makes such a difference. So, but those are my main things. But I have an email list if you'd like to join that. If you're not sure, go to my website, click the contact me or DM me on Instagram and I'll guide you where to go. So,
Love it. Thank
yeah.
you so much. And
Thank
so
you
this,
so much.
I'm so happy. And so I just wanted to thank Mutual Aid Network. They helped to put this on. Mutual Aid Network is an amazing nonprofit to where they take people's strengths from all around the world and we all collaborate together because sometimes, in different countries or whatnot, they'll have strengths and may not have the finances. So how can we come together and just help each other? So actually on, when is it? The 21st of September, it's a Saturday. Something that I love to do is I help to host a Zoom karaoke. So I get people from all over the world come and get on Zoom and people will sing karaoke, whatever songs they love to sing, because songs and music make people happy, right? Especially if they're singing their favorite songs. And this is something that I started doing during the pandemic when we were all stuck at home. So I was like, oh, let's just get together. We can sing together on Zoom and, everybody can take turns and do that. So Mutual Aid Network is having their event on September 21st, and I will be hosting the karaoke portion from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. Hawaii time. So Emily will share that. And then also I wanted to just give a shout out to Frequence. Frequence is one of my favorite companies. They combine frequency, 11 harmonic frequencies, with nutrition. So just reminding our bodies that our bodies have this frequency within us, and we can just be reminded of it as we use the products, and then just vibrate and raise our frequency. So I'm loving it. I just had a business coach reach out to me, and she's like, I am loving this. The nootropics with the trace source minerals is helping her with her creativity, with her mental clarity, and she's loving going to our masterminds and just, having wonderful masterminds with her clients and groups that she's a part of. So thank you so much. You can reach out to me if you have any questions about Frequence, and please reach out to Joe about any relationship questions you have, and Teresa for, I'm doing her 30 Days of Light. I'm loving it. So I'm just really thankful. And we will see you next one at the World of Nutrition podcast. Mahalo.